everyone, I am going to talk about the topic microbiology of air. First, we shall see the introduction. Aeromicrobiology. Aeromicrobiology is the study of airborne organisms, that is, microbes which is present in the air, and they contain significant number of microbes. Air contains gases, dust particles, and dried vapor droplets. In addition, it contains microbes which are present in larger numbers. Air has vegetative cells as well as the spores producing bacteria, fungi, algae, and protozoan cyst. The composition of the air is found to be the nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21%, argon 0.9%, carbon dioxide 0.03%, and hydrogen 0.01%. Microbial load in air is found to be less when compared to the soil as well as the water. Various layers can be recognized in atmosphere up to a height of about 1000 kilometers. And the layer which is nearer to the earth is said to be the troposphere, which is nearly 16 kilometers, and it is found to have heavy load of microbes. Air serves as the dispersal media for the microbes. That means it can propagate through the air. And they travel long distance with the help of wind action, and they settle into the earth surface by the process called precipitation. Microflora of air is subdivided into outdoor and indoor microflora. Airborne bacteria originate from natural sources such as soil, lakes, oceans, animals, and human. That is all biological sources. And other sources like sewage treatment process, that is the process can add microbes in the air, animal rendering, agricultural practices which disturb the soil. So all these processes may add microbes into the air. Air is the unfavorable environment for microorganisms in which they cannot grow or divide because it is not having the sufficient nutrient source. It is not having sufficient nutrient source and the environmental condition that may not allow this bacteria to grow. That is, only it can propagate. It is merely a place where they can occupy and they can use that for movement. Three elementary limiting nutrients are present in the air. They are lack of adequate nutrients, frequent deficit of water, that process is said to be desiccation, and solar radiation. Bacterial resting forms, bacterial vegetative forms which produce special protective layers like capsule and some special structures associated with the cell wall, and the spores of fungi and viruses with envelope can survive in air. Then the human activities, that is the coughing, talking, laughing, sneezing. So all these activities they can transfer these microbes from one to another person. That is they will be emitting some aerosol, that is the droplet nuclei, that will be suspending in the air, and that will be responsible for transmission from one person to another. Then microflora of air is divided into broadly divided into two major categories, that is outdoor as well as indoor. First, we will see the outdoor microflora. Air which is present outside the building, that is the people where they are dwelling, and the environment which is found to be outside the human dwelling, that is the building. So it is said to be the outdoor microflora. Usually it is larger in volume when compared to the indoor. And there are fungi which are predominant in such environment such as deuteromycetes and basidiomycetes. And the dominant bacteria, that is the spore formers, spore producers, can resist and they can survive in such environment. Example, bacillus species. And some non-spore formers also can survive like Sarcina species, Micrococcus luteus, and Corynebacterium species. Air flora over sea are Achromobacter species, Bacillus species, Corynebacterium species, Flavobacterium species, Micrococcus species, Sarcina, and Staphylococcus. More microbes are found in air over terrestrial surface than over the sea. Similarly, more fungal spores can be found over agricultural fields during summer. And next we will see the indoor air microflora, that is microbes which is present inside the building. That is the bacteria found in the indoor environment, they may arise from human sources. Mainly they may be the skin microflora and also the microflora that will be emitted due to the respiratory activity. Most of the bacteria are shed from the human skin surfaces. Common fungal genera in the indoor air are Penicillium and Aspergillus. And bacteria also dominate the indoor air, but the number vary depending on the factors like ventilation and number of occupants in the room. So these two are so important, which are responsible for maintaining the numbers in the indoor. Common bacterial genera are Staphylococcus and Bacillus species. And next we'll see the bacterial communities that is associated with the air. Mainly in the outdoor air, bacterial spores are predominant. Similarly, mold spores, yeast and protozoa. And the bacterial species which is predominant in the air is gram-positive rods, gram-negative rods, Micrococcus species, Sarcina species, aerobic spore-forming bacteria, Bacillus species, Actinomyces species, Mycobacterium species, and Klebsiella species. And the predominant fungal members which is present in the air are Penicillium species, Alternaria species, Pullularia species, Cladosporium species, Stemphylium species, Botrytis species, and Aspergillus fumigatus. And the important yeast species are Rhodotorula, Arobacterium, and Sporobolomyces. And the important protozoan species are Pneumocystis carni, which is responsible for causing the disease pneumonia, and the blight, the disease. It is the disease that will be developed in grains, which is caused by Puccinia graminis. And next we will see some of the fungal plant diseases and the pathogens which is responsible for causing the disease. It is airborne plant pathogens. Ceratocystis ulmi, it is responsible for causing the disease Dutch elm disease. Phytophthora infestans is responsible for potato leaf blight. Puccinia recondite is responsible for causing leaf rust. Astilago trilisi, that is loose mud of wheat. Pseudospermosora humili, it is responsible for causing downy mildew. Puccinia sorgi is responsible for causing maize rust. Erisivi graminis, it is responsible for powdery mildew of barley. And Helminthosporium maris, that is responsible for corn leaf blight. And next we will see the airborne human pathogens. First we will see the bacterial disease. The Mycobacterium tuberculosis, that is the pathogen which is responsible for causing TB. Klebsiella pneumoniae, which is responsible for causing the disease pneumonia, a respiratory disease. And Bacillus anthracis, which is responsible for causing anthrax, that is the pulmonary anthrax. And the Legionella species is responsible for causing the disease Legionellosis, Legionella pneumophila species. Then Bordetella pertussis, this is responsible for the disease, childhood disease, whooping cough. Then Corynebacterium diphtheriae, it is also a pathogen which is responsible for causing the disease diphtheria, that is a childhood disease. Then the fungal diseases like aspergillosis, which is caused by the fungal pathogen Aspergillus fumigatus, coccidiomycosis by Coccidioides immitis, and the viral disease influenza, that is caused by influenza virus, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, that is caused by hantavirus, hepatitis, that is caused by hepatitis virus, chickenpox caused by herpes virus, common cold by picornavirus, and dengue fever by flavivirus. And next we will see the life cycle of microbes in atmosphere. Microbes, they are emitted from the surface mainly in the form of droplets, that is they will be suspending in the form of droplets in water, soil or vegetation, and they become airborne and transported to the air stream. Microbes which are able to survive these environmental pressures are more resistant varieties. The microbes are rained out from the clouds through wet deposition and begin colonization of the new location. So in this way the microbes that will be emitted through the different sources, they will be transported and they will be shed out or will be emitted out in the another environment. And next we will see the aerosol and droplet nuclei. Biological aerosols. Microorganisms in air occur in the form of colloidal system called bioaerosol. Aerosol is the suspension of solid or liquid particles in air. The diseases can spread by means of small droplets in the breath is called bioaerosol. Droplets are formed by sneezing, coughing, talking, or laughing, and it consists of saliva and mucus. Droplets may contain hundreds of microbes of respiratory tract origin. Airborne droplet nuclei may develop when the fluid of pathogenic droplets, that is nearly 1 to 5 micrometer in size, it can evaporate. They are so small and they are light and they remain suspended in the air for several hours to days. And next we will see the infectious dust. The infectious dust are nothing but large droplets that settle rapidly into the surface and get dry. Nasal and throat discharges from a patient can contaminate the surface. Disturbing these dried materials can generate the dust particles. Microbes can survive in the dust for longer periods. Opening the freeze dried cultures or withdrawal of cotton plugs. These are the laboratory activities that can also bring about the production of the infectious dust. And next we will see the factors influencing the growth of microbes in air. First we will see the relative humidity. The humidity, it is the important one that will be a controlling factor for the growth of microbes and their propagation in the air. That is nothing but the content of water in air. At a very low humidity and high temperature, cells may face dehydration. High humidity may give cells protection against the solar radiation. So the water content it found to be in the environment is found to be a major factor that favors the growth of microbes. Microorganisms react differently to humidity variations in air. Most of them prefer high humidity. The morphology, the biochemistry of cell surrounding structures, which may change its conformation depending on the amount of water that is available in the air, that is the humidity. And next we will see the next factor, temperature. It indirectly affects the cells by changing the relative air humidity. That is, the higher the temperature means lower the relative humidity. It is closely related to the humidity. Direct effect cause cell dehydration and protein denaturation since cells are made of protein at high temperature or crystallization of water contained within the cells occur that is temperature below 0 degree centigrade. So low temperature, that is the temperature above 0 degree centigrade, is considered as an optimal for this bioaerosol. According to some researchers, the optimal temperature is above 15 degree centigrade. And next one is the solar radiation. Solar radiation has a negative effect on the survival rate of the bioaerosol, both visible as well as the UV light and infrared radiations. It causes mutation that leads to the formation of free radicals which damage the important macromolecules. Visible light, the range of visible light, that is 380 to 750 nanometer wavelength, create the so-called effect called photodynamic effect, which can produce free radicals within the cells, cause damage to the macromolecules, especially the DNA as well as the protein. UV radiation has a much larger effect on cells than visible rays, especially the optimal range, that is 260 nanometer wavelength. That is, this wavelength can have an effect on the cells that possess the DNA, and they will be creating thymine dimers, and that results in mutation. Infrared radiation may have a negative effect upon the cells contained in the air, that is heating up, and consequently the dehydration effect may take place. Thank you.